Palestinian officials reported on Tuesday that Israeli bombing strikes on the southern part of the Gaza Strip killed dozens of locals in the cities of Rafah and Khan Yunis. Iranian President Raisi on Tuesday vowed that Israel will pay for the assassination of Syrian commander Sayyid Raisi. In Argentina, an avalanche has destroyed a pedestrian bridge and isolated the town of Rincón, located in the department of Pomán in the northwestern province of Catamarca. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Palestinian officials reported on Tuesday that Israeli bombing strikes on the southern part of the Gaza Strip killed dozens of locals in the cities of Rafah and Khan Yunis. In turn, local media also denounced Israeli warplanes bombed residential buildings in Khan Yunis, Deir al-Balah, and al-Shabura refugee camp. According to the Ministry of Health in Gaza, the injured were transferred to Kuwait Hospital for medical treatment. In this sense, the institution stressed that, in addition to the dead and wounded, many people are still missing under the rubble. Through the siege of the Israeli occupation forces in Gaza, the occupation army killed 20,674 Palestinians, wounded more than 54,000, and displaced almost all of the 2.3 million inhabitants of the territory. Also in Palestine, the Israeli regime launched a new incursion in Middle Gaza. Our correspondent Nur Harasin has the details.
New Israeli incursion begins in Middle Gaza, specifically talking about the Al-Burayj refugee camp, Al-Maghazi refugee camp, Al-Nusayrat refugee camp, and also eastern Deir al-Balah. All of these camps are located in an area that we call Middle Gaza, and it is separating northern Gaza from southern Gaza. There is hundreds of thousands of people who are residing now in Middle Gaza, not only of those its own residents, but there is a high number of displaced people who left their homes in northern Gaza and came and take shelter in Middle Gaza. So apparently the same scenario of what happened in northern Gaza and southern Gaza is happening now in Middle Gaza, as overnight there was non-stop bombings on the borderline between East Middle Gaza and the Israeli lines. Eyewitnesses reported the entry of several Israeli tanks and bulldozers. So yes, we can confirm that there is a new Israeli incursion in Middle Gaza. According to Israeli media, 300 missiles and 85 air raids hit Middle Gaza tonight. There were no people killed in those airstrikes, so most of airstrikes actually happened in an evacuation areas where already people evacuated their homes. And this is a part of the Israeli plan to separate Gaza into three main parts. We have northern Gaza, Middle Gaza, and southern Gaza. Talking about the situation at the Rafah border, Egypt allowed only 60 trucks of humanitarian aid to enter the Gaza Strip, which is not even 10% of the needs of the people here in Gaza. However, people are trying their best to cope with this winter approaching, especially that there will be a storm hitting Gaza today. Nur Harazin, TeleSUR, Gaza.
In Palestine, the World Health Organization described the situation in the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza as absolute chaos following the constant attacks by Israel. Amid efforts to address the humanitarian and health crisis in Gaza, the UN Health Agency and its partners delivered supplies to the hospital and visited 3 other health facilities in the territory. Despite the Israeli siege in the Gaza Strip, Al-Shifa hospital continues to provide assistance and is hosting more than 50,000 displaced people. The WHO said that sustained humanitarian access is essential to deliver food, water, fuel, medicines, and other critical supplies safely and continuously to more than 2 million people.
I'm back in Al-Shifa, the largest hospital in Gaza, for the 3rd time this week, where it's still a case of absolute misery. With people still on the floors, it's almost impossible to walk. Critical cases, doctors and nurses absolutely scrambling, people crying out that they need blood for their son and daughter who are dying. There's almost nothing that this team can do, this very small clinical team can do to help all of these people. It's absolute chaos still. And actually, this is even after the hospital staff told us that the fighting has quieted down for the last few days. It's nonstop, 24 hours a day, serious and critical injuries coming in, and a very small staff to help them.
The WHO health official warned that there is a risk of famine in Gaza.
Of a famine here in Gaza, actually, and even here in the hospital, everybody says that they only have rice. They have very often only one meal a day, and they're hungry. So, you know, we've brought medical supplies here, we've brought surgical supplies here. Everybody wants food, and we're currently in the kitchen trying to find a way that we can reactivate this kitchen.
The government of National Salvation of Yemen positively valued the decision of Spain not to integrate the task force for the Red Sea led by the United States. Deputy Foreign Minister Hussein El-Essi recognized Spain's courage in not allowing itself to be dragged along by Washington and London although it has not been officially communicated like Spain, it is speculated that France and Australia will also leave the group. Shipping companies warned that the chaos in the Red Sea shipping lanes could last for months. The world's second largest container firm, Danish AP Moller Maersk, showed 15 container routes affected between Asia and Europe, which will include more than 150 tankers. Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi on Tuesday vowed that Israel will pay for the assassination of Syrian commander Sayyid Mushavi. President Raisi issued a message of condolence to the Iranian nation and the Guardian Corps of the Islamic Revolution. He also said that this crime is another sign of frustration and weakness of the Zionist regime in Tel Aviv. In the meantime, the Iranian leader also stressed that Mushavi was a brave fighter who was in Syria as an advisor to the resistance front, defending the holy sites and safeguarding the Islamic ideals. Raisi's statement also added that Mushavi was a colleague of General Qasem Soleimani, another Iranian commander who was killed in Baghdad in a U.S. drone strike in 2020. Iran will commemorate the 4th anniversary of Soleimani's assassination next week. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the south. The Russian government extended the ban on trucks from the European Union, the United Kingdom, Norway and Ukraine entering the country. The Russian Cabinet of Ministers said in a statement that the restriction will remain in force until the European Union's decision not to allow trucks with Russian and Belarusian license plates to pass through the community countries is lifted. In this regard, the Cabinet clarified that an exception will be made for the transport of mail, including diplomatic mail and humanitarian aid. In addition, technical support vehicles for the transportation of equipment and vehicles to the venues of sports competitions were allowed to pass through. On Sunday, it was learned that Chad voted in favor of a new constitution to facilitate its transition to a civilian government. The National Commission for the Organization of the Constitutional Referendum announced the results of the consultation held on the 17th of December. In a ceremony held at the headquarters of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in N'Djamena, the capital of the country, they informed that 86% of the voters were in favor of a reform against 14% who opted for a no. The Supreme Court is now tasked with validating the results, and the decision is expected to be known on December 28th. In Sudan, more than 20 million people are facing food shortages following violent clashes in the country that have led to a humanitarian crisis. Since mid-December, the armed conflict in Sudan has escalated, spreading to the central and southern regions of the country. The World Food Programme warned that if foreign food assistance to the country is not increased for the rice season, certain regions could suffer from famine. Several social organizations reiterated the urgent need for an immediate ceasefire in Sudan and unimpeded access to humanitarian aid in all regions of the country.
La situación sigue empeorando.
The situation keeps getting worse. It is a very terrible situation in Sudan, especially when you go and visit the camps and the centers where the internally displaced people are staying. It's very worrying that more than 20 million people in Sudan are currently food insecure. And what makes it worse is that there are more than 6 million people who are one step away from famine.
Around 118 migrants were rescued in the Mediterranean Sea following operations by the non-profit Sea-Watch organization. Authorities reported that among the migrants were dozens of minors, including children under the age of 3. The migrants were rescued by the Sea-Watch 5 vessel. The ship remained in the south of the island of Lampedusa to assist, along with 2 Italian Coast Guard patrols, in the search and rescue of a fishing vessel with at least 150 people aboard. The Canadian mining company First Quantum, after assuring that it would comply with the ruling of Panama's highest court, warns that it will defend its investment in the country. Although they claim that they will do so by all legal means, Panamanian workers and farmers denounced the other actions that the company is willing to take. The Canadian company indicated that it will shield its investment of $10 billion and the rights in the Panama copper mine. Their representatives in the Latin American country reported that they have not been able to communicate with the representative of the national executive. However, the Farmers Front Against Mining denounces the complicity of the government with the businessmen.
Good morning. My name is Gabriel Loresno, president of the Farmers Front Against Dams and Mining. In the early hours of this morning, we were attacked here in this bastion of San Juanito by the police and the anti-riots. They knocked down a booth and knocked down all of this. They made fun of us, and here they also took 2 trucks and a van from this place where the fellow truckers who were not bothering the public and the traffic. They did whatever they wanted with the complicity of this corrupt government and the mine and that aspires to do the same as they did in 2017.
Haiti is about to end the most violent year in its history with almost 4,000 murders and thousands of wounded and displaced people. Gang violence also increased kidnappings and armed assaults, with more than 2,900 kidnapped. Authorities registered also over 1,400 people injured in acts of gang violence. This shocking scenario has caused the displacement of some 200,000 residents, and according to the United Nations, 5.2 million Haitians require humanitarian assistance. The government of Iranian, with an answer to the crisis, looks to an international force for solutions to a multifactorial crisis. And the Global Initiative Against Organized Crime ranked Ecuador as the 11th nation with the highest crime rate and the 6th country with the highest rate of extortion. Ecuador undergoes an insecurity and violence crisis unprecedented in its history, where the number of kidnappings and other crimes are becoming more and more frequent. Therefore, the country is in this category with a score of 8, tying with several nations such as Guatemala, Mali, and Nigeria, as indicated in the Global Index of Organized Crime in 2023. The agency also issued a report describing that many people fleeing the country cite extortionists as one of the main reasons for their decision to leave. Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. government's announcements on immigration control raised concerns among thousands of asylum seekers in Mexican territory who have decided to set out for the United States. It is estimated that more than 10,000 people from at least 24 countries traveled in the caravan that left Tapachula, southern Mexico, on Sunday, December 24th. The first stop was in Álvaro Obregón, another city in the state of Chiapas. According to the Mesoamerican Migratory Services, entire families are traveling in the caravan. Since last week, the heads of states and government of North America announced plans to reduce migration, which raised concerns among those who were expecting regulatory processes in Mexico. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. In Argentina, an avalanche destroyed a pedestrian bridge and isolated the town of Rincon, located in the department of Pomán, in the south of the Argentine province of Catamarca. The pedestrian bridge, inaugurated a little over a month ago, was swept away by the flooding of the Ambato River due to the heavy rains which caused the rivers to swell. For this part, the government of Catamarca, through its account on the social media X, highlighted that no deaths or injuries have been reported, but only damage to houses and a vehicle swept away by the river. It should be noted that the official report pointed out that this is the second bridge destroyed by the weather conditions in less than 10 days in the whole province. After the collapse of the bridge, the inhabitants of the town of Rincon were completely isolated. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, sent a Christmas message on Sunday wishing happiness to all Mexicans. Through a video on his social media account and accompanied by his wife, Beatriz Gutierrez, the President emphasized that Christmas Eve is not a night for confrontation, much less for war, but for peace and love in family. López Obrador expressed his wishes of happiness for all citizens, with special emphasis on the children and the grandparents of all Mexican families.
Tonight is not for confrontation, not for quarrels, much less for war. It is for peace, this Christmas Eve, for love, and tomorrow's Christmas.
The presidents of Latin America and the Caribbean took advantage of Christmas Eve to express their commitments and wishes for their peoples and the region. Peace has been the most recurring word in the Christmas message of the heads of Latin American states. Their commitments and promises with democracy, development and prosperity of their nations, as well as the commitment to improve in the coming 2024, accompanied the wishes of good holidays. Brazilian President Lula da Silva recalled how an attempted coup d'etat consolidated a national peace pact in his country.
Mis amigas, mis amigos.
My friends, the hatred of some against democracy left deep scars and divided the country. These united families and put democracy at risk. They broke shop windows, invaded and destroyed public spaces, destroyed works of art and historical pieces. Fortunately, the coup attempt caused the opposite effect. It united all institutions, mobilized political parties beyond ideologies, provoked the immediate reactions of society, and at the end of the sad January 8th, democracy emerged, victorious and strengthened.
President Nicolás Maduro and the first combatant, Celia Flores, also expressed their good wishes with a Christmas message to the Venezuelan people.
Venezuelan men and women are persistent, like the fields of the guaruras and the beating of the drum that defeat Oblivion.
Second, we are brave, like the victorious Florentine, who with his truth and his verse neither fears nor offends.
We are generous like that sun that rises in the Essequibo to illuminate an entire continent.
Besides, we are very united, as only a family can be, that overcoming difficulties learn to trust in its own strength.
We are also optimistic like our athletes, who play everything with the certainty of glory.
And we are joyful, like the gaita that stops being Zuliana to become a national celebration.
We are diverse like the traditional ayaca, which in each region change its ingredients, but it is still called the same, ayaca.
And loyal, above all loyal, to our heritage, to our destiny, like the flagship of freedom, of justice, in which we are overcoming storms and forging the future. And if you join those 8 words, Celita, we can tell the child God, how is Venezuela?
Welcome to Venezuela, where the most loving people in the world live. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year 2024.
All women and men, long life our beloved homeland.
Long life.
Meanwhile, in Argentina, social movements organized a Christmas Eve dinner for homeless and low-income people in the Congress Square in Buenos Aires under the slogan, "No Family Without Christmas." This is an initiative that has been carried out every December 24th since 2016, so that thousands of families living in complicated situations can share a different Christmas. This year, a total of more than 4,000 people participated. The celebration included a sector for children with inflatables, ball games, and Christmas gifts. There was also a hairdressing salon, showers and toilets, and live music. Social leader and former presidential candidate Juan Gabrois said there is nothing more important than loving everyone, especially the poorest. In a handwritten letter, Pope Francis greeted the initiative and thanked Sergio Sanchez, president of the Federation of Cartoneros and organizer of the event, on behalf of all the collaborators. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.